Is it a good idea to buy a house in an election year? Or is it just too risky? Hi, I'm Daphne Bousquet with eXp Realty, and today we're talking about the pros and cons of buying a house in an election year. Do you think it's a good idea, or does that election loom large for you? Should you wait until after the election to buy a house? Hopefully, with these pros and cons and the data to back it up, you can make an informed decision. Let's jump right in and talk about the cons. The massive obstacle is, of course, the uncertainty that goes with an election year. Who's going to win? Will it be Democrats or Republicans? Biden or Trump? And no, I am not getting into politics here. It doesn't matter if you're lean right or left. The uncertainty affects us all. And that uncertainty extends to the housing market. What is going to happen with home prices? And interest rates are already high. What is the election going to do to mortgage rates? And tell me in the comments if you are thinking about buying a house. Is the uncertainty stopping you? And while I can't tell you who is going to win the election, I can share what has historically happened in election years and the year immediately after to take some of that uncertainty away. And after looking at the data, I have come away with one word: opportunity. I will spell out exactly where that opportunity lies at the end, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Another major con is consumer confidence, which is generally lower before an election. And no wonder, because that uncertainty drives the lower consumer confidence. It's hard to be confident if you don't know who's going to win the election and what that policy changes might entail. What is going to happen after the election? Low consumer confidence and uncertainty go hand in hand. But you know what? After the election, consumer confidence goes up because 50% or more are happy that their party won. And this is especially true at the local level, where no matter the party, if you're county colored red or blue, confidence increases. So now we move on to the pro side, where we look at home prices, interest rates, and home sales, and where they have gone during election years, and how this translates into an opportunity you may want to take advantage of. But before we do that, let's look at some context. What was happening during each of the election cycles? In 2008, we had the great financial crisis and that big recession. In 2012, the big issue was Obamacare, which was being reviewed by the Supreme Court, and there was also a debt crisis in Europe. In 2016, the global issue was Brexit. I think we still remember 2020 like it was yesterday, right? With the global pandemic. And this year we're dealing with high inflation, high interest rates, and wars being waged. It's always something, isn't it? So with that in mind, we can look at home prices. According to Ryan Lundquist, who is a residential appraiser and housing analyst, an election year does not alter the price trend that's already happening in the market. So if home prices are going up, they continue to go up. If home prices are going down, we can expect that trend to continue. And when we look at home prices the year after each election, we can see that is the case every single time. 7 out of 8 years after the election, home prices went up. The only time that they went down was in 2009, and we know what was happening during that time, right? It was the great financial crisis where home prices plummeted. And that had nothing to do with the election. Home prices were already going down, and that trend continued. Right now, home prices here in the south of Atlanta are still trending up. Home prices are not increasing as fast as they were in 2021, 2022, but they are continuing to go up. We are expecting modest increases of 3 to 5% this year, and I see no reason why that would change. So historically, we can expect home prices to continue to rise next year as well. Next are interest rates. Now, interest rates have risen very fast over the last couple of years as we are fighting inflation. Now, the Fed promised last year that they would cut interest rates 3 times in 2024, but already have said that they're keeping rates where they are unless inflation is down. Maybe they will cut it 1 time before the end of the year, maybe not. Now let's look at what interest rates have done in last election cycles. During 8 out of the last 11 election cycles, interest rates dropped before the elections. The 3 times that it didn't were in times of high inflation, so kind of what we've been seeing right now. However, with the Fed intending to keep rates steady or drop them maybe once this year, we could almost conclude that they may go down a little before the election. And personally, I don't think we'll see a huge drop, if they drop at all. We may see a slight drop, but at least I don't think they'll increase, so that's a good thing. And while we're looking at this chart, can we have a moment for the interest rates that we have now? And yes, we are complaining that they're high, but they were much higher before the year 2000. And it is staggering to see how much they dropped between 2008 and 2012, all to jumpstart the economy during the 2008 financial crisis. I don't think we'll see those rates again unless we have a major economic crisis. And let's hope we do not experience that anytime soon. Finally, let's look at home sales or the amount of homes sold during an election year. Overall, there is no big difference between homes sold during an election year and a non-election year. However, we do see a dip in November. Now, there's always a seasonal dip of almost 10% during October and November, but in an election year, it's more pronounced at 15%. The thing is, when home sales come in lower in November, that really means that it slows down in October, when those homes would normally get a contract. So that means traditionally people pause their home buying the month before the election. And when there are fewer showings, fewer offers, and fewer buyers altogether, sellers become more motivated. And when sellers get more motivated, they are willing to accept offers they wouldn't have only a month before. And therein lies the opportunity. When you can expect home prices to continue to go up after the election, interest rates could potentially go down before the election, and you have more motivated sellers, that turns into the perfect time to buy a house, especially when the effects of an election are traditionally negligible on the housing market. Bottom line, don't be afraid to buy a house in an election year. If you're in the market because of life events, go buy that house. Don't let the uncertainty stop you. You may actually do better by buying before the election. So what do you think? Would you buy a house before the election? Share it in the comments and watch this video next.